Every wild animal lives by one simple rule. Stay away from humans. Don't get close. Don't hesitate. Run. That instinct has kept wild animals alive for millions of years. Because to them, humans almost always mean danger. We hunt. We build roads. We clear forests. We pollute oceans. We set nets, traps, snares. So the moment most wild animals see a person, they leave. That's how they survive. But every now and then, something happens that doesn't seem to make any sense. An animal finds itself fighting for its life. And instead of running, it does the exact opposite. It swims toward a boat. It approaches a person. It stays within reach. Sometimes, it almost looks as if it's waiting. From our perspective, it feels impossible to ignore. As though the animal somehow knows. This human might be able to save it. But is that really what's happening? Can a wild animal actually understand that someone is trying to help? Or are we simply telling ourselves a story we'd like to believe? The answer feels obvious. At least, until you begin looking closely at the evidence. And our first story begins off the coast of California. Story 1. The Humpback Whale. In 2005, a massive humpback whale became hopelessly entangled in commercial fishing gear. Heavy ropes wrapped around its body, pinned down its pectoral fins, cut deep into its skin. Every movement tightened the lines. Every struggle caused more pain. The whale weighed nearly 50 tons. One powerful strike of its tail could have overturned a small boat in seconds. That's why rescues like this are considered incredibly dangerous. Even experienced teams approach them with extreme caution. Yet the rescuers went in anyway. For hours, they worked beside the exhausted whale, diving beneath the surface, cutting away one rope after another. Slowly, carefully, freeing it piece by piece. The operation lasted for hours. Throughout the entire rescue, the whale barely resisted. It could have, but it didn't. Finally, the last rope fell away. Everyone expected the same thing. The whale would disappear into the open ocean and never look back. Instead, it stayed. The whale began moving slowly around the rescue boat. Then it approached one diver, then another, then another. Several members of the rescue team later described the moment as deeply emotional. To them, it almost felt as though the whale was acknowledging each person who had helped save its life, maybe even saying goodbye. Or, thank you. The first time you hear that story, the conclusion feels almost unavoidable. Of course it understood. Of course it knew those people had just saved its life. But if that's true, why are scientists still so cautious about drawing that conclusion? Because the next encounter forces us to look at this question in a completely different way. At first glance, the next story seems almost identical, but this is the one that begins to unravel the obvious answer. During a routine dive, a diver encountered a giant oceanic manta ray. Normally, manta rays keep their distance from people. This one didn't. It swam directly toward him. It didn't turn away. It didn't disappear into the blue. Instead, it simply hovered there, calm, silent, almost motionless, as if it were waiting. When the diver moved closer, he immediately saw the problem. A fishing hook was deeply embedded near the manta's eye. Every movement must have been agonizing. Slowly, carefully, trying not to frighten the animal, the diver reached toward the hook. What happened next surprised everyone. The manta didn't bolt. It didn't struggle. It remained almost perfectly still while the hook was gently removed. Only after it was free did the giant ray slowly turn and glide back into the open ocean. The footage quickly spread across the world. To millions of people, the explanation seemed obvious. The manta had come looking for help. But was that really the only possibility? Let's look at the same moment from another angle. Imagine you're in severe pain. Every movement makes it worse. Would you react the way you normally would? Probably not. The manta may not have been searching for a human at all. It may simply have been too injured to respond the way a healthy animal would. In other words, what looked like a request for help may have been nothing more than the behavior of an exhausted, wounded animal. If that's true, the whale's story suddenly doesn't seem quite so straightforward. Then another encounter complicated the picture even further. Story 3, the dolphin. During an ordinary dive, a group of divers noticed a young dolphin. At first, nothing seemed unusual, but something wasn't right. The dolphin was moving far too slowly. It wasn't playing. It wasn't hunting. It wasn't staying with the rest of its pod. One of the divers swam closer. That's when he saw it. A thin fishing line had wrapped tightly around the dolphin's fin. With every movement, the line cut deeper into the tissue. Every attempt to pull away only tightened the loop. Then something happened that continues to fascinate researchers. The dolphin didn't flee. It stayed close enough for the diver to carefully cut the line away. Seconds later, the dolphin accelerated and disappeared into the open water. For many people, this is the story that settles the debate. Surely the dolphin understood that the diver was trying to help. But researchers urge caution. Dolphins are among the most intelligent animals on Earth. They constantly evaluate their surroundings. They calculate risk. They make rapid decisions based on the information available to them. Perhaps the dolphin wasn't thinking about human intentions at all. Perhaps it simply made the safest decision available. Swimming away meant almost certain failure. Staying still offered at least a chance. That possibility changes everything, because choosing the option most likely to lead to survival is very different from understanding that another living being intends to help you. And just when that explanation begins to make sense, another piece of evidence makes the mystery even harder to solve. By now, it may feel like the mystery has been solved. Perhaps wild animals don't understand human intentions at all. Perhaps they simply choose the option that gives them the best chance of survival. If a human happens to be nearby, that may be nothing more than circumstance. It's a logical explanation. But there's one problem. Some observations don't fit it very well. There have been documented cases of humpback, whales calmly approaching boats again after being rescued from fishing gear. They weren't trapped. They weren't injured. They no longer needed help. Yet they showed little of the caution wild whales usually display around people. Dolphins raise even more questions. Researchers have known for years that dolphins can recognize specific individuals. Not just humans in general, a particular person. They can distinguish faces, remember voices, even recognize unique patterns of movement and behavior. In documented cases, some dolphins have approached the same people they had encountered before. Not just any diver, not just any boat, the very individuals they had interacted with. But does that mean they felt gratitude? Not necessarily. Memory is not the same thing as understanding. A dog may recognize its owner after years apart. That doesn't mean it fully understands everything its owner has ever done for it. The same may be true here. A dolphin may remember a person. Whether it understands why that person once helped it remains an open question. And that distinction is more important than it first appears. It's exactly where intuition and scientific evidence begin to separate. So what does science actually tell us? When we hear stories like these, it's almost impossible not to imagine ourselves in the animal's place. The whale was saying thank you. The manta came looking for help. The dolphin trusted a stranger. Those explanations feel natural, because the human brain is remarkably good at finding familiar patterns. We're constantly interpreting the behavior of other animals through the lens of our own thoughts and emotions. Scientists call this anthropomorphism, the tendency to attribute human emotions, intentions and motivations to other species. That's why researchers are careful, very careful. What we do know is extraordinary enough. Many animals can recognize individual people. They can remember faces, voices, scents. Some can read body language. Others can predict what a person is about to do. Certain species even follow the direction of a human's gaze. Those abilities are real. They're well documented. But they still don't tell us whether an animal understands intentions. Imagine someone feeding pigeons in the same park every morning. Eventually, the birds stop flying away. Not because they understand kindness, because experience has taught them that this particular person is safe. Animals learn patterns like this constantly. The real question is whether they understand the reason behind those patterns. So far, science can't answer that with certainty. One final mystery. Yet one detail refuses to disappear. Nearly every story we've explored today shares something remarkable. At the moment when survival mattered most, these animals abandoned the rule that had protected their species for millions of years. They didn't run. They didn't fight. They didn't hide. Instead, they allowed a human to come close. That choice alone is extraordinary. Maybe they never understood that a person was trying to help them. Maybe they simply sensed that fleeing carried the greater risk. Or maybe something far more complex was happening inside the animal's mind. For now, no one truly knows. Ending. Perhaps wild animals will never understand us the way we understand one another. Perhaps they don't know gratitude. Perhaps they don't even recognize the idea of compassion. Perhaps helping another species is a concept entirely outside their world. And yet, again and again, when every instinct tells them to run, some choose to stay. Why? Science still doesn't have a complete answer. Maybe one day it will. Until then, these encounters remain among the most extraordinary moments ever witnessed between humans and the wild, because sometimes the most honest scientific answer isn't certainty. It's curiosity and a simple admission. We still don't know.